So much for tuning into the Boxing Authorities. Joining me at the table, as always, Luther Dupree Jr., Smoking Jim Frazier, and my name is Claudio Relsano. Again, thank you so much for tuning in. Well, fights we'd like to see in 2021. Started off with that. I know that we were all looking forward to the Fury-Wilder fight. I'm still hoping that gets pulled off, but Luther, we'll start with you. Fights you'd like to see this year.
Listen, the fight everybody wants to see that needs to happen is Terrence Bud Crawford versus Errol Spence. We've been waiting for years for this.
Yep.
Errol Spence, southpaw, about to fight Manny Pacquiao. But that fight needs to happen. I mean, both of those guys are at the top of their division. I think Errol Spence would get it, but I'd like to see that fight. That's the main one I'd like to see, Claudio.
All right, let me ask you a question about that fight. Right now, I mean, they're both at a good age, but I think, especially if Spence beats Pacquiao, I think Spence is on the climb. I don't want to say Crawford's on the decline.
He is.
But he's got to turn it up a little bit.
Listen, Crawford, his resume, you look at the guys he's fought at 147. These are all washed up C-level fighters at this point. Errol Spence, Manny Pacquiao, Danny Garcia, Mikey Garcia, Sean Porter, Lamont Peterson, young Kell Brook. Yeah, Terrence Bud Crawford has to get in. He's getting older. He's in those 30s. He has to get this fight now. They're talking about he's fighting in October. We don't know who he's going to fight. It's not going to be Sean Porter. It's not going to be Keith Thurman. So it'll probably be another B, C-level competition. Errol Spence, I think, would dominate him because the competition that he's fought is much better.
I didn't think that at first, but now I'm starting to kind of go the other way.
You're waking up. You're waking up, Claudio.
Smoking Jim, fight you like
comes
to
my
see.
way.
Fight you like to see, Jim.
Well, just to piggyback off of Dr. Dupree, Bud Crawford's fought guys that Marvelous Marvin Hagler fought in his middleweight division career, and nobody ever knocked him. He's great. But the fight I like to see is Dwayne Haskins' wife against anybody. Hey, listen, Sonny Liston and Rocky Marciano was known to knock your mouthpiece out with the teeth in it, and she's doing the same thing. But hey, the fight I like to see, the greatest fighter of this era, Canelo Alvarez, against anybody he deserved. He earned the right to fight any opponent that he wants to anytime he fights. I think it's great for boxing. It's great for the young people watching a great technician that turned pro at 15. Canelo Alvarez against the world.
Well, you mentioned Alvarez. I like to see him fight Beterbiev because I like him a lot. I don't think anybody's going to beat him. That guy's a fighter. That guy, he comes to the ring ready, and he comes at you, can take a punch, can give a punch. What do you think about that fight?
I think that'd be a tough fight for Canelo. I think better
weight-wise or style?
Both.
Okay.
I mean, I think weight-wise, he's going up against a real, true 175-pounder who's in his prime. He's a little older, but he's in his prime, goes to the body, he's knocked everybody out. That would be a tough fight. But I'd like to see Canelo fight a David Benavidez.
You always said that, yeah.
I think that fight would be exciting. Two Mexican styles going at it. I think that's the fight that we need to see. That's the fans. That's going to get the boxing fans excited. Both of those guys won't take a step back. Yeah, that's
you think David Lemieux has anything left?
David who?
Lemieux.
I don't know. Listen,
I've always wanted to see him fight Canelo, but now it's probably too late.
I think it's kind of too late for him, man. It's definitely too late. Another one I'd like to see: Gervonta Tank Davis versus Teofimo Lopez. I think that would be tremendous. Both of those guys have power, both in the prime of their career, and we know Davis. He only fights Mexicans at this point. He hasn't fought an American in quite some time. So I think that can happen. I think that would be a great fight. I'd like to see that one for sure.
What do you think, Smoking Jim?
About what?
Who would you see Tank Davis fight?
Well,
Besides,
anybody. Tank is right there.
What do I think about
pound for pound?
Tank
Wake
is right
up,
there.
Jim.
He's
Sleepy
right there
Jim.
with Canelo Alvarez. Tank is a must-see TV. You want to see this guy. He earned the right to be a box office blockbuster. And I tell you what, anybody that Tank fight, I really would like to see Tank fight Errol Spence. I think he can move
Come on,
up.
that's
And,
three weight
he dominated him in sparring like Spatafore dominated
Where's
Floyd
the footage,
Mayweather.
Jim? Where's the
I
footage
seen
at?
You didn't see the footage on
There was no-
Spatafore and Floyd Mayweather?
You're the footage king now.
Everybody saw that footage. You see Errol Spence
Yeah,
and Devontae
yeah.
Tank
Davis
You
dominated
You
him.
didn't see that footage.
Black both his eyes.
Listen, Errol Spence got in there with Floyd Mayweather and blacked his eye and was not invited back. That's what
Floyd or Roger, they both was about the same age.
Floyd Mayweather Jr.
right,
and Errol Spence. And that's a fact. Floyd Mayweather will tell you that.
Is Floyd old?
This was years ago when he
I
was
say-
in his prime.
Okay.
And
You
that's
guys
how Errol
mentioned-
Spence got his name. Come on, Jim.
You guys mentioned Floyd. You're going to think I'm crazy. You know what I'd like to see?
Oh, boy.
Oscar De La Hoya against Floyd Mayweather. I would like to see it. I know they're, but
I mean, okay. I thought
would you be okay with that?
I'd be okay.
What
with
would you
all
think I was
these-
gonna say?
I thought you were going to say one of these young guns.
No,
or
no, no.
Canelo.
Well,
I
you
thought
know
you were
what?
going to say Canelo.
You know what?
No.
I still think Floyd is smart. He's one of the most intelligent boxers. Everybody say Pernell Whitaker. Maybe Floyd is the most intelligent boxer in the ring. Guy doesn't get hit. I think he would still fluster Canelo.
Well, I tell you what, Canelo beat him the first time they fought.
Jim,
Decision.
come
But
on.
I tell
Put
you
your
what,
glasses
I
back
would
on.
like to see.
You didn't have your glasses
I
on
would
when
like
you
to
saw
see
that
that fight.
He was looking at something else
I
after that.
definitely would like to see that fight at Floyd Mayweather's strip club because Canelo got the outfit for it.
I would definitely like to. I like to see Oscar Floyd, and I like to see Floyd fight Canelo. I just would. I still think Floyd has a little. Now they can't wait too much longer, and I think it would be big box office too, and it would give boxing attention, which is something that I like when boxing gets good attention. Which we're sliding into the next segment here is. Obviously, lately with Triller, but it was Tyson and Jones. That's good.
Started, right?
That was good. But now you're seeing all these celebrities wanting to fight boxers, or just celebrities fighting each other. Lamar Odom fought Aaron Carter, which was,
right. That was horrible.
whatever. I mean, I don't care about either one of them, but it was a bad fight. But now they're starting to talk about Jake Paul wanting to fight Tyron Woodley, which, okay, I'm good with that. Paulie Malignaggi fighting a guy named Corey B., who's a radio guy. He smacked Paulie in the back of the neck.
That powder was something,
Yeah,
boy.
but it's one thing if you're hitting somebody behind the neck when he's announcing a fight. Another thing when you're straight up.
How bad did Paulie fall off? I mean, come on. He's fighting a DJ now.
Well, the thing about him is, from what I've been,
Paulie Malignaggi
Yeah,
lost his, because of the stuff he was spewing, not on Showtime anymore. He's doing,
Sky. I think he's on Sky.
He's doing
Well,
Lamar
everybody
Odom
wants to
and
fight-
get smacked. Come on, he shouldn't be
Everybody
fighting
wants
these
to
guys.
fight
Didn't he
Paulie
just- didn't
Malignaggi.
he just fight Bare Knuckles?
Bare Knuckles.
And got destroyed.
I think Paulie looks at it like a business, and everybody wants to fight Paulie Malignaggi. Who's the Clarissa Shields? There was even rumor. Somebody mentioned that those two fight. I think I'm the only one that hasn't challenged Paulie Malignaggi. Okay, but this guy, what started that was he was talking about being a boxer, and I'm in the gym, and people say, "Oh man, are you a pro?" And then Paulie heard it on the radio and called him up, and said, "Look, you're disrespecting my sport. I don't want people when they hear boxing, they think of you or anybody who's not a boxer. I want them to think of the Mayweathers, the Canelos." The Spence, those type people. And then Corey B, I guess, said some things back and forth. And Paulie said, "Hey, you would never say these things if you were in front of me." Well, then Paulie's doing a boxing match. He hits him in the back of the head with baby powder. And it looks like it's going to happen on October 10th. Paulie, I think he's a businessman, as he always says. He's looking to make a good buck. He was never a big hitter. Unfortunately, he had hand problems throughout his career. But I think it's going to draw people. I know I'd certainly watch. I was a fan
Hey,
of his as a
Claudio,
fighter. Yes, sir.
mouthing off like that is the reason why Paulie got beat up by McGregor in training.
Well, it was one-
so he had to keep his mouth shut.
Well, you know what?
McGregor put it on him, man.
Well, you know what? They're also talking about. Yeah, Porter did. But they're also talking about a Malignaggi McGregor fight, winner take all. Which now, what I wasn't there. What they're saying is McGregor showed that one clip where he knocked Paulie down, but he didn't show the other 30 minutes when Paulie was dominating. I don't know, but I'd like to see that
McGregor
fight.
got to go a fight without hurting himself. I mean, he just
And winning.
he
I
hasn't
know
won a
that-
fight in 5 years.
Yeah,
he
the
just
other guy
fought
who
and
reminds
broke
me,
his own ankle.
Andrew Galata. The more he lost, the more title fights he got. Yeah. Okay. McGregor's making an absolute killing. He's a businessman. I give him credit. Okay, but I think that fight may end up coming because McGregor against Paulie once McGregor heals up, because that's just not losing any steam. They don't like each other. They keep showing that clip, And you know
Well,
what?
McGregor's a shot fighter now. The McGregor that fought Floyd Mayweather and hit him more times than Floyd got
Floyd
in his
Floyd-
whole career.
Jim,
That
stop,
McGregor
stop.
would have knocked out almost
No,
anybody.
McGregor would have lost.
Floyd carried him
Floyd
for
carried
7
him.
rounds.
Floyd
Stop
carried
it,
him.
Jim.
He
carried him.
got punched in the head.
Let me ask you a
He
question.
got punched in the head for 9
Look
rounds.
at all the guys that Mayweather fought and beat, and all of a sudden he's going to let a guy who never boxed before.
Carried him.
He carried him.
So he took those punches in the head because he liked it.
I think, you know what? Mayweather's a businessman,
Yeah, yeah.
and he took some
He
shots.
was like,
He carried
like
them.
getting
They
kicked
weren't
by a
big
mule.
shocks.
You get
They
kicked by a
weren't that
mule
big
because you
shocks.
like
It
it.
was
You
all arm
you like
punches.
getting kicked by a mule.
All the punches.
I remember Luther upset because McGregor was doing that training
brand, yeah.
thing with the thing and all that. I mean, it was showbiz. It was good. I went to a friend of mine's and
I had
and watched
McGregor
it.
winning.
Oh, McGregor! You had Canelo beating Mayweather that night
no,
too.
no,
Your
I didn't
scoring
have that.
system's pretty off, Jim.
Oh man!
That one, I have money on.
But do
I
you
have
think
money, though.
you think this is good for boxing or bad?
Well, listen, Jake Paul has a contract, a pay-per-view contract with Showtime. You know, he has Woodley. Logan Paul just fought Floyd. Yes, I think more eyes on the sport of boxing is good for
As long as it's competitive and not a joke.
More eyes on the
Okay.
sport is good for it. Like they say, bad publicity,
It's
good
good
publicity.
publicity. Right.
There are more eyes on the sport of boxing than ever before recently.
Right.
I mean, partly because of Jones and Tyson coming back, and then Paul was on the undercard and knocked Nate Robinson out
Robinson.
cold, and then all the memes went viral for about a week
Yeah,
straight.
you started the charge
Oh
with
my
that.
goodness, that was hilarious.
Hey, Luther.
these guys are coming.
Hey, Luther, can we take your crooked finger off the TV? That ain't good for boxing. That crooked, that ain't good, man.
Crooked finger. A lot of KOs with this right hand, Jim. You keep talking, you're gonna feel another one, Jim.
I'm with you. It is good that people watch it, and then if they like it, you know what they'll do? They'll tune into
back
more
for more.
fights. Yeah, some
Exactly.
guys getting the
So I'm
attention.
loving it. I'm loving it.
I'm loving it too. Jim, do you think it's good for boxing or bad?
What's that? No, I think it's
See,
great.
that's why we call him Sleepy Jim. Wake up, Jim.
I got CTE.
Sometimes
And Oscar De La
Sometimes he's
Hoya
sleepy.
is fighting a guy named Victor Belfort, who's an MMA guy. So Oscar's getting back in the ring. He said, everybody else is making money. I want my piece.
Hey,
Good or
listen,
bad?
I think it's great for boxing. We're in southwestern Pennsylvania, Pittsburgh. This is a fight town.
Yep.
You got the bums fighting under the bridge. You got girls fighting on the bus, and I watch them
In
all.
casinos.
Yeah,
In
if
casinos.
you got kids fighting after school. If you're fighting, I'm watching. I enjoy it. I say it again. I don't think it's good for guys like Oscar De La Hoya and Floyd Mayweather to get into it because these are guys that's supposed to be promoters now, and you'll never be a great promoter. You'll never be a Don King or Bob Abram or
Bob
a circus.
Arum, Bob Arum.
Yeah, Bob Arum. If you continue to keep
point.
your foot in boxing, be a great promoter. That's what you want
That's
to do.
old school thinking.
Hey,
I think
how's
what Jim
Vince
said-
McMahon? How's Vince McMahon?
Well, he did it, though.
How's
He
Vince
was Vince McMahon
McMahon?
wrestled.
Again, you
He's
prove
right.
my- yeah,
Vince McMahon
Vince McMahon
wrestled.
was wrestling. Listen, these guys, that's old school
That's right.
thinking.
Vince
Come
McMahon
up with
wrestled.
the time smoking, Jim. I like these guys staying in the spotlight. Floyd, Oscar, they're always going to
People
be
wanna
more.
see 'em.
Yeah, they're always going to be more popular than their fighters because those are legends, Hall of
right.
Fame
And
fighters.
they'll never be a great promoter like,
But they're making money off the promotion.
huh?
They're making money off the
what you
promotion.
Oh, we're making money. Making money.
Listen, a great
Making
promoter,
money.
You don't
Javante
think?
Jim. First of all, Floyd has Javante Davis. One of the, he's a pay-per-view star right now. Oscar had Canelo. and
How's
I
that
don't know
boy
what
from
happened with that.
Cincinnati doing? He had him too, didn't he?
No.
Broner.
Yeah,
We're not talking
AB.
about
How'd
AB.
AB
We're
do?
talking about
I'm just
Javante
saying.
Davis.
I'm just
Canelo
saying.
Alvarez was under Oscar. Ryan Garcia. So they keep their name relevant.
Emmanuel
And
Stewart
those
had
two
a
guys are
few
gonna
great
fight.
fighters too, but he ruined more fighters than he
Ooh,
made.
Emmanuel.
Whoa, who? Who?
Ask Caveman Lee. Y'all remember Caveman Lee?
Oh,
Most
my
of his
goodness.
fighters were Caveman
Stop.
Lee. He
Stop.
rushed them into the
Emmanuel
big
was
time.
one of the best.
Yeah,
Emmanuel was
he had 2 or 3 good fighters. The rest he rushed into
Oh,
the
my
limelight too
goodness.
soon. Ask Caveman Lee when Emmanuel
again,
Stewart
we want
said,
these
"You know
guys
you
to
ain't
get
got no
pushed."
education. You better fight."
We want these guys out there fighting, Jim. Stop
yeah.
letting these fights
How long did he have
marinate.
Michael Moore turned his back on Mike?
Hey, listen, he got him a championship fight, didn't he?
Yeah,
Okay.
he did.
All right.
And he got a lot of his fighters knocked out.
Hey, you push them up to a certain point. Some of them got it, some of them don't.
Wrong, Jim.
Quit. I don't like babying these fighters.
No, that's for sure. Louisville does
Kronk Gym is legendary.
It is legendary. Again, I think it's a good idea. It's entertaining. I mean, but what do you think about the celebrities fighting each other, though? I mean, the boxers fighting MMA guys or fighting a celebrity, you know, and it isn't like Paulie's a big knockout guy. He's going to clip him in one round. Like Tyson fighting somebody. No, I mean, Paulie's going to win the fight, obviously, and he's going to dance around and do some things. Okay, but Lamar Odom against, you know,
whoever, Aaron Carter.
Are you good with that?
I love it. I love it. Listen,
but even though they're stylistic, they're not good, and they don't look good.
You have different styles. You know, everybody likes to see a fight.
If
you're driving, you see two guys fighting, you're going to stop and look. Everybody loves each other. Everybody loves a fight. They're not looking for these guys they're looking for entertainment. Yeah. Claudio, you're not looking to see, oh, here's a stiff jab and a nice right. When you see these celebrities, you just want to see who's getting knocked out. Do people really think Aaron Carter was going to beat Lamar Odom? This guy had a 90-inch reach, was hitting him from one side of the ring to the other.
I thought Nate Robinson was going to win.
Nate Robinson, you know, he's like a YouTuber and got laid out. Man. He's jumping into punches. So that's what they want to see, the excitement. Somebody's getting knocked out because their skill's not good.
But sometimes if a guy can't throw a punch, you've seen in basketball, they throw those haymakers like this.
And they're going to, like Nate Washington, jumping up to throw a punch and got laid out. And that was all people talked about for 2 weeks. Has he come out yet? We still haven't seen Nate.
He's still laying down.
He's still in Hatton. He's still asleep.
Well, again, as long as it's competitive and it looks good to the eye, I'm good with it. And again, it brings eyes to boxing, which I like, and I want boxing to get all the publicity, good publicity it can get. So I'm in favor of it as well. Well, we're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back. We're going to talk about fantasy fights, a fight that everybody always talked about for decades. We'll cover that next on the Boxing Authorities. All right, we talked about fantasy fights. I think the most talked about fight, if this guy fought that guy, who would win? And it's been going on for years and years and years, so much so that in 1969, they actually did a computer fight, the first of its kind, and that was Rocky Marciano against Muhammad Ali. I mean, the styles were different. Everything was different. And it did pretty good box office back in 69. Unfortunately, when it aired, I remember when it aired, when the replay was on TV. I do remember that, but it was probably sometime in '70, and it was after Rocky Marciano had passed away in August of 1969. But who do you think? Talk about the styles. Who do you think would have won?
Listen, I'm not putting anybody above the greatest, Muhammad Ali. Claudia, you already know that. You know, he was the complete package. He had the size, he had the speed, he had the jab, he had the chin, he had the heart. The greatest boxer ever. If you put him in the lab, you come out with Muhammad Ali. Yes, Rocky was excellent. He was great, undefeated, but he never fought a Muhammad Ali. There's no way he could have done anything with Muhammad Ali. He would have fought hard, but Muhammad Ali had too many skills for anybody to ever touch the ring.
Beautiful to watch.
Beautiful footwork. He moved like he was the first heavyweight to move like a middleweight. Nobody in the history of the sport would have beaten Muhammad Ali. For anybody else to say,
I think Aaron Carter is going to fight this guy next. Go ahead.
For anybody to think a prime Ali would lose to anyone, I seriously doubt it. And if he did, he'd come back and destroy you.
And they don't talk about his accuracy of punches. Yes. Nowadays they have all these stats.
Listen, I've seen where he would put his hands on the ropes.
Yeah.
Guard down, a guy's firing, he's just moving. Yeah. Look at him. I mean, he's just amazing. Against Floyd Patterson, you know, just punished the guy. Just too good. Just playing with him. Hands completely down.
Exactly.
Look, you've never seen a heavyweight do this. He did things that you couldn't teach. He was too special.
He was.
Man, he was amazing to watch.
Smoking Jim.
Well, I think the computer had it right. Muhammad Ali would have got beat 10 out of 10 times by Rocky Marciano. Hey, listen, if Ken Norton, who don't deserve to be in the Hall of Fame, could beat Muhammad Ali, Rocky Marciano used to throw 100 punches per round. He would have punished Muhammad Ali. Muhammad Ali was flat-footed. Now, Cassius Clay or Cassius X would have, I believe, would have been a favorite over Rocky Marciano. This is a guy, Cassius Clay and Cassius X used to run backwards 5 miles every day. He could throw punches moving backwards. Rocky had short arms, 67-inch reach, which is short for a middleweight. Yeah. If you could throw a great left hook, you could have a chance against Cassius Clay like Henry Cooper and Joe Frazier. Rocky, because of his style, he threw his right hand down. He used to throw what I call a shovel hook, or sometimes it's termed a Mexican uppercut. I don't know if you guys heard that term. Am I the only boxing authority that heard that? When Rocky would throw that right hand, he would come back with a shovel hook or a Mexican uppercut into your ribs and stuff like that. But it wasn't enough that could land to the chin against a Cassius Clay or Cassius X. So I give the advantage to Cassius Clay and Cassius X over Rocky Marciano.
Oh.
Muhammad Ali would have got destroyed by The Rock.
We said prime smoking,
Well-
Jim. So you're all over the place.
Well, you said Muhammad Ali. You never did mention Cassius Clay or
They're the
Cassius
same
X.
person, Jim. I don't separate the same person because they changed their name or changed religions. It's
Well,
the
one thing,
same
though,
guy.
Jim
Prime
does make a
Muhammad
point.
Ali beats everyone.
I know you don't like it, but Jim does make a good point. And again, Jerry Cooney said this. Cassius Clay prided himself on not getting hit. Muhammad Ali prided himself on getting hit and being able to take it. He was a little bit older. He didn't move his way. He still moved nice.
We're talking about prime.
Okay.
He lost 3 years of his prime.
No question. No question.
So
No
you
question
can't
about that.
compare that version.
No, I'm just saying.
You know, the best Muhammad Ali.
But I understand where
beats
Jim's
anyone.
coming from. But in my opinion, Rocky.
I'm confused. All the names. You
know,
gave
people-
4 names to the same guy.
But Rocky, there's a misconception, maybe it's a stereotype, that he went in there and he took a bunch of punches, they bloodied him up, they busted him up, and he'd land one punch and it was over. The only fights he really took a beating in was the Walcott 1 fight, Ezra Charles. That's really
split his
it.
nose.
That was it. Yeah, he
his
split his
nose
nose
was rough.
and split it up like a butterfly. Other than that, now Archie Moore knocked him down in Rocky's last fight. It was a flash knockdown. Nonetheless, he got knocked down. But he never really got a beating like they make it sound. Like all these guys, all the Italian fighters, they went in there and they were all like Tony Galento. They all got hammered. They were like this. And all of a sudden, Rocky came up with a big punch. Against Walcott, yes, because Walcott was great. And Ezra Charles, extremely underrated. And again, he cut Rocky. And but one thing, watch when Rocky fought a guy named Kid Matthews. He threw 2 consecutive left hooks and knocked him cold. Then a beautiful punch. They said Rocky was clumsy and all this kind of stuff.
Talk about the Susie Q.
The Susie Q. But the one punch, which I hope we get on this video, against Ezra Charles, Rocky throws a left and he misses. And he does a great 1-2 with his left-right foot, and he throws a right swinging down, and he knocks Charles down. It was a beautiful punch if you appreciate that kind of thing. Again, they make it sound like he tripped over himself and he was clumsy and all this kind of stuff. And watch Rocky's hand speed and uppercuts. And he threw from different angles, okay? Now, you didn't know where the punches were coming. Now, yes, he could cut, and Muhammad definitely would cut him without question. But Rocky threw punches from different angles, and he wasn't as easy to hit as people made it sound, because he would go so low. And against a tall fighter like Muhammad Ali, okay, maybe against a guy who was close to an Archie Moore, could hit Rocky because he wasn't as big as Rocky. Whereas Muhammad Ali was 6'3", 6'4", and it would be harder to hit Rocky. Watch this punch against Don Cockle where Rocky winds up, because he couldn't put Cockle down. Cockle could take a punch. Yeah. But anyway, Rocky would really go low against Marciano. And I'm going to use a quick basketball reference. Years ago when NC State, led by Jim Valvano, was coaching against Georgia Tech and Bobby Cremins, there was a guy named Hammond who was a power forward for Georgia Tech and a great basketball player. Jim Valvano put Chris Corciani against him, a 6-foot guard against Hammond. Why? Because Hammond would have to dribble the ball and Corciani would steal. In other words, he used his height in his favor. Rocky would use his height in his favor. It wouldn't be easy to hit against Ali. But I think that would be the greatest boxing match, biggest selling boxing match of all time, besides maybe Sugar Ray Robinson, Sugar Ray Leonard.
That's why he could get hit. Now I'm looking here. He could get hit now. You know, he could definitely get hit by Ali.
You're going to fight. You jump in a pool. You're going to get wet.
Come on, he was in some.
And Listarza was
He
good.
was right there. Listen, I think Ali fought in the golden era
against
of
Roland
heavyweight.
Listarza. He beat the hell out of Roland
Golden
Listarza.
era of heavyweight boxing was when? The 70s.
70s,
He
80s,
dominated
90s.
that
Yes,
era.
he did.
You know, and if he didn't lose his prime, there would be no question You know, those
with you.
3 years that was taken from him
Yes,
illegally.
yes.
Listen, there's no question he dominated the greatest era. You can't put anybody over
Well,
Ali.
I have to
that
agree with-
computer was absolutely incorrect.
I have to agree with Luther.
Finally.
In the 70s, Rocky would have killed Muhammad Ali. But here's something that people don't want to
Golden
talk
era.
about. Here, Rocky used to go to training camp for 8 months.
Yes, he
he
did.
used to run 15 miles a day
Thank
in army boots.
Yes, and with dress clothes.
Yeah.
And Jim, not to interrupt you, he would hit a 500-pound heavy bag, and he'd swim. He was one of the first athletes who trained underwater.
I didn't know
And
that.
he would fight 5-minute rounds.
Right.
Okay, not 3.
Right.
And he would fight like 100 and some odd
Yeah,
rounds.
yeah.
That's why he was always in shape, because he knew he wasn't a tall guy and had the long jab, like you mentioned, 68 inches. But he had to out-hard everybody. He had to outlast everybody. And he threw his haymakers. I'm sorry to interrupt you. Go ahead.
No. And I was forgot what I was going to say, but yeah, in
His training methods. He ran with combat boots.
You saw the picture of Muhammad Ali.
And he didn't go to the casino buying cars like Tyson Fury. But go ahead. I'm
Muhammad,
sorry.
And he
Muhammad
used to
Ali
throw-
was scuba diving without a mask. You saw the picture with him underwater.
Yeah, that
Come
was
on.
for photography.
That was for
But,
Sports Illustrated.
Scuba diving without a mask. Come on, Muhammad Ali was special, Jim.
Yes, he was.
But Rocky was the only fighter that could throw, that averaged over 100 punches a round for a 15-round fight. Now, I
And
will
would
say
miss-
this.
and would miss a
I
bunch
will say
against
this.
Ali.
Against
He wouldn't
Cassius Clay or Cassius X, a 12-round fight would benefit Cassius Clay and Cassius X. I think a 15-round fight would benefit Rocky Marciano. And you guys both don't like 15-round fights.
Well, the other thing, too, that I think, and this is very subjective in my opinion, but reading all that I've read about Rocky and talking to different people who knew him and so on and so forth, the thing about Rocky, too, that set him apart was fear. Rocky was definitely afraid of losing money.
He was an
losing
immigrant.
Fights.
He
He was
was
an
an
immigrant.
immigrant.
And he was obsessed with not losing and
Well,
obsessed with making money.
He saw Joe Louis. He saw what happened to Joe Louis.
He
you
did,
know
and a lot of other fighters
Yeah.
prior, and he helped Joe Louis, and he always said, "I don't want anybody to have any benefits from me."
And you guys
And
both know how much I love immigrants in boxing.
I didn't know that. You learn something
You
new
learn
on the
something.
boxing authorities all the time. But I just think, again, maybe I'm biased because I grew up in my house. That's all you heard was Rocky Marciano, Rocky Marciano. But again, watching video and styles make fights, and I think something that people don't talk about. Yes, Rocky got hit with guys that are his size. But what do you think about my comment? Ali's 6'4". Rocky would have ducked and dodged and been low. Muhammad would have had to hit low. Matter of fact, when they did fight in that computer fight, Rocky didn't hit him in the head. Muhammad did his thing with jabs, but Rocky went to the arms a lot. And Muhammad said, "Man, that man could hit." Because he hit him in the arms. And Rocky would
Fighters
go to the body.
Fighters who say Rocky would beat your arm so much it
That you
tired
dropped him.
you would drop your arm.
Rolling the Stars that had welts on his arms when he, at his old age. Ezra Charles, welts in his arm. Giorgio Walcott said, I'd never seen anybody hit like that.
Yeah.
Archie Moore, who fought everybody, he said, and Archie Moore called Rocky Marciano out. He did the old thing, he was, kind of saying, he doesn't want to fight me, so on and so forth. And Rocky did, he said, man, he could hit.
Yeah.
Were you going to say, I'm sorry, Luke?
No, I'm agreeing. Yeah, Rocky
forgot.
was
He forgot
on
what
it.
he
He could
was.
hit. He was a technician. He would go to the arms. But Muhammad Ali was so, flew like
beautiful.
a butterfly. He
No
wouldn't
question.
be there.
Let me ask
it
you
would
this
be a great
then.
fight.
Let me ask you this.
It would be a great
Joe
fight.
Frazier gave Muhammad hell, right? Would you say that Frazier had similar style than Rocky Marciano? Similar style.
There
They
was
both
some
came at you, and
yeah, there was-
and
there was
Frazier
some
gave
similarities.
Muhammad hell. So would you say would you say Frazier was better than Marciano? I wouldn't.
Well, no, I wouldn't say that, although he had a better left hook.
Oh,
And
yeah,
I would
yeah,
say
okay,
this.
yeah,
I would
yeah.
say this. Cassius Clay or Cassius X would never have lost a round to Joe Frazier. Now,
Okay.
in
Because he'd have
70,
moved.
yeah, in
Okay.
71,
In his
it was
prime, right, in his prime.
in 71, it wasn't the same fighter. That was Muhammad Ali.
Right.
Two different fighters.
Two different styles.
Flat-footed.
4 years later,
Yeah,
his
Rocky
prime
would have
versus
Rocky
not
would have
not your
destroyed
prime.
Muhammad Ali, but he couldn't have beat Cassius Clay. in
But
my
I think, as they
or
say,
Cassius X.
as they say, styles make fights, and
would've
obviously
been- it
the
would've
two
been
names.
tremendous.
Can you imagine? Can you imagine? Let me ask you a crazy question. What do you think of pay-per-view? Let's say they were both in their prime. I know it's a crazy.
They
it's
wouldn't
a
have been
fantasy
afraid
fight.
to fight each other
No, they
like
wouldn't.
these fighters
No, they
today.
wouldn't.
Right,
And it's
yeah,
a
they would've
fantasy
got in
fight,
that ring,
so we
right.
can say what we want. What do you think the price would have been for that? 100.5?
At least.
And-
People,
and
people might pay 200 for
I'm
that
telling you.
fight.
I'd have
because
paid
those two-
300.
Yeah. No, you wouldn't have.
You would have streamed it,
He
Jim.
would've- he'd
You
have
would have
gone- you're right,
streamed
he'd
it
have streamed
somewhere
it.
free.
But the good thing is, though, that what was nice was after at first, they weren't too crazy about each other.
Right.
But before they left, when they were done filming, and during the film, they became very close. They became very close friends. And what they were going to do is there was some issues going on at different neighborhoods back then, and they were going to combine and say, hey, if we can get along, you
Everybody
guys
can
get
get
along.
along.
Well,
Yeah.
don't forget, at that time when they made the computerized fight, Muhammad Ali was broke, so Rocky probably gave him some money like he did some of the other fighters. It never came out because Rocky passed away, but I bet you he gave Ali a shoebox.
There you go, Smokerpedia. Smokerpedia broke another story.
How many fighters did Rocky help out? So Joe Louis, he helped out a
The
lot.
ones out front were Joe Louis, Ezra Charles. What he would do, this is documented, this isn't from the Italian
Great guy.
dictionary or Wikipedia, he would have a speaking engagement, right? For, let's say back then, 15, 20,000, which is a lot of money now, but even especially back then. He would call up the last minute. And he'd say, I'm sorry, I can't make it. I'll do your next event for free, but I got a guy who can do the event for you, Ezra Charles, Jersey Joe Walcott.
Yeah, that's good.
And he's the one who got Joe Louis the job.
Muhammad Ali.
But he's the one who got Joe Louis the job at the casino, which back then was looked down upon. Now, if you work in a casino and you're a celebrity, it's, oh man, that's great.
Yeah.
But Rocky tried to do a lot for a lot of people. And another story is when Rocky unfortunately was killed. I don't know where Muhammad Ali was. I'm not sure where he was, but they said he ran so many
Mecca.
red lights, and he flew there. And he also got mad at some people. They never said exactly who, but some people would say different things about Rocky or say whatever. They were asking for autographs, and the two famous quotes that came from that funeral were Joe Louis when he touched the coffin of
He
Rocky.
kissed it.
He
He kissed the
kissed it,
coffin.
and he said, God just got himself a good man. And Muhammad Ali said, I hope Rocky hears what's being said right now so he pays him back someday in heaven. Because Muhammad was very upset.
Well, I heard Muhammad also asked one of his family members, did he leave a package for me?
Smokerpedia bringing more.
Yeah, you'll learn this sometimes. Again, Luther hit it right. Smokerpedia. But again, two of the greatest of all time, pound for pound. You can say either one of them is the greatest, but not only that, but now Muhammad was without question the most important fighter in boxing history, without question. I don't think anybody can ever deny that.
It'd be a great fight, though.
It'd be a
We
great
all can
fight.
agree.
Yeah,
That would be an amazing
It'd be
fight.
entertaining. But yeah, we'll do many other fantasy fights, and maybe some guy from Charleroi. That's an inside joke. That's an inside joke. But we're going to take another quick break, and we're going to come back and talk about the legend of the week, Sugar Ray Robinson. Wow. We're right back with the boxing authorities. There's a term in boxing called pound for pound. Now it's used in other avenues of life, but pound for pound started with boxing. And I think the guy who they originated that for was our legend of the week today, and that's Sugar Ray Robinson. Everybody said Sugar Ray Robinson was pound for pound the greatest fighter of all time. People who fought him said that. People who saw him said that. Luther, what do you think?
Wow. I wish I could have seen him live. I've seen video. Man could do everything. He fought different weight divisions, killed a man in the ring, unfortunately, and had visions that he could do it.
Yeah.
And ended up doing it. I mean, his footwork, guy was just amazing. When you look at his record, it's like a video game record.
Yeah, really.
I mean, and that's when they used to fight, a couple, more than 2 and 3 times a year. Look at the hand speed.
Well, he fought Jake LaMotta, which was, I think 5-6 times. One time he fought him, Luther and Jim, like a month apart, maybe less.
Right.
And you didn't fight, when you fought Jake LaMotta, you got hit.
It was a war.
It was a war.
war.
It isn't like you got tapped and I'm okay, I can fight. No, you know damn well you were sore at the end of that fight.
Floyd Mayweather couldn't fight in that era.
Listen. We're talking about the legendary Sugar Ray. We're not talking about anybody else. But look at the hand speed. He was a technician in there. Nothing but heart. Man, he was just special. You can't say anything else. The black and white shorts. Just amazing. I can't say enough about Sugar.
Oh.
He started the name Sugar, and then after that, it probably should have been banned for anybody to have the name Sugar Ray anymore.
Sugar
Come
Ray,
on.
I'm okay. Not Sugar Ray Seals and
Come on, man. There's too
whatever
many
else,
sugars out there.
Sure.
You got to get to a certain level. Look at this. I mean, it was just a different ball game back then, Claudio.
And against Jake LaMotta, look at that. who you knew going into it, Smoking Jim, when you fought Jake, the Raging Bull, you were going to come out busted up. Your thoughts about Sugar Ray Robinson?
Well, hey, you know, a lot of people don't realize, man. Here's a little history. His last 3 fights was in Johnstown, Pennsylvania, Steubenville, Ohio, and his last fight was in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Listen, this is a guy that fought amateur before you was allowed to fight it at 15. He fought under an assumed name. He, as an amateur, he was 128-0 as an amateur boxer. As a pro, he had 200 fights, 173 with 109 knockouts, man. This is a guy, most complete fighter ever. You talk about negotiating fights. You know, if he didn't get his money, the correct amount of money, he would pull out of a fight.
Very good.
Exactly.
And,
That's right, Jim.
About that business,
outstanding,
right.
man. Outstanding businessman. Up and down Harlem before the heroin.
Restaurants?
Before the heroin came in, he owned all the restaurants and bars and hotels and stuff like that.
Right.
Yes, he
True
did.
Businessman, yeah.
You know, the thing that impressed me, a couple things, bunch of things. Again, I'm into accuracy. You can throw punches all day long. If you're missing it, so what? Look how accurate he was.
Yeah.
But with Pop, and not only that, and I said this about Lennox Lewis. When Lennox Lewis lost to Oliver McCall and Rock Rahman, what did he do? He beat them in rematches,
Came back,
right?
destroyed them.
Sugar Ray, Randy Turpin doesn't get the credit he deserved, unfortunately. Randy Turpin was tough. He reminded me a lot of Winky Wright, but he was hard to fight. One of those guys you just didn't look good against. Jimmy Young was like that. A lot of guys that you're hard to be accurate against those guys, right? But Robinson was. But when he lost to those guys, guess what he did? He came back and he beat him. Now Carmen Basilio, who hated Carmen Basilio, was he from Rochester, New York, out that way. I mean, yeah, he beat him, but then Sugar Ray came back. I mean, that shows me something. When you lose to somebody, and not to get off the subject, and I don't want to upset Luther, but like Deontay Wilder, I said the reason why I don't think he's going to beat Fury is because mentally he gave him everything he could, and he couldn't beat him.
Yeah.
Jake LaMotta gave Sugar Ray Robinson everything he could and he did beat him, but then Robinson came back and beat the hell out of him.
Two different eras, two different
but
guys.
they're humans.
Two different guys.
No, but you're right. There are two different guys. And Carmen Basilio pounded Robinson. What did he do in a comeback? It takes a lot. It's not just physicality. We'll talk about feet and jabs and chin, but also, Jim, and I know you agree, and I know Luther does too, a lot of it's up here.
It's mental. Right.
This guy, like I said, LaMotta hit like a truck, and he beat Sugar Ray Robinson, okay? And what did he do? He came back and beat. Rocky Graziano knocked Sugar Ray Robinson down. What would Robinson do? Just destroyed him. I mean, arguably for his size, and like Luther said, he fought guys who were heavier, fought guys who were lighter and quicker. He fought everybody, and he beat them. And he didn't fight 40 fights, 50 fights. He fought a zillion fights because those guys back then, they fought. And as I mentioned, I should know the exact separated time, but I know they fought within like 6 weeks, and I think that was the St. Valentine's Day massacre.
One time, 2 weeks after he fought Jake LaMotta, he fought somebody else.
Okay, and the famous fight that's in the movie Raging Bull, where he say, "Hey Ray, you didn't knock me down." I mean, he pounded the hell out of Jake LaMotta. But again, that's what they did back then. There was no refs like Jim would have let it go.
Jim would have been a perfect ref back then.
Yeah. But do you think that fighters today know who he is and give him the pride? Now, Sugar Ray did. Muhammad did. But do you think that he gets the credit he deserves to this day?
I don't think so. No. A lot of those guys from that era don't get the credit they deserve, and he should. I mean, because his style, his name, everything, he should definitely be bigger. But boxing, sometimes it doesn't promote these guys from way back era. You know, unfortunately. I think these guys should get a lot more support financially and fame-wise.
Yeah.
I mean, they shouldn't have to have these different organizations trying to take care of these guys that can't have basic needs, man.
That's right.
But he definitely doesn't get it.
Well, I know there's definitely a number for Wilt Chamberlain. I wonder if there's a number for Sugar Ray with women. That number got to be high, Lou.
Not only were the fights high, the number of women were high.
You know what, though?
Back in
What
the
was
day,
he, when he wasn't fighting, he was a dancer, he was an entertainer, he owned restaurants,
And
he
he
owned
was a
clubs.
lover.
He had the pink Cadillac, if I'm not
Yeah.
mistaken.
Yes, he did.
He was a showman.
Yeah.
He dressed the
Yes,
part.
yes.
And he, in wrestling, they say that you should kind of, at least years ago, Ric Flair acted his character. Was that well put? He lived his character.
Yeah,
Sugar Ray Robinson lived his character. And I'm with you. Years later, they would show a show called the way it was,
okay.
or something like that.
Where
It was
are they now? One of
yeah,
those
yeah,
type
yeah.
of shows.
And they would have him on, and Basilio and Graziano, and Graziano did well with his money. People nailed Sugar Ray, and I agree with you. I wish somebody could help these boxers out. But Sugar Ray Robinson, legend. Everybody all the fighters still talk about him. They try to emulate him. The two guys I hear all the time, Willie Pep, they try to emulate his defensive skills, and Sugar Ray Robinson, the total package. And so I'm glad we definitely had him as our legend of the week.
Jim, you saw him live a couple times, right?
In Pittsburgh, when he was in Pittsburgh. That's why Jim knew he was here.
Smokepedia was there.
Although Eddie
called the
Jeffries,
fight, didn't you,
Eddie
Jim?
Jeffries did see Eddie and his dad seen Sugar Ray Robinson.
Oh, wow.
Okay, two legends.
And went to his bar.
Okay.
Yeah.
Closed down the bar.
Yeah, they closed it. Right. Well, we're going to go to one of our favorite segments, and that's the mailbag. All three of us. Rico from Rhode Island. I like this question. Should Vinny Pazienza be in the Hall of Fame?
Oh, yeah. I love Vinny. What he came back from, people thought he wasn't going to walk again. Nonetheless, fight. I would love to get Vinny Paz in the Hall of Fame. It's a shame he's not in there. You look at some of the guys they have in and he's not there. It's unacceptable. Come on, Hall of Fame. Do the right thing. Put this man in there. He deserves to be there, for sure.
You're right, Luther. If Kenny Norton's in there, Paz should have already been in.
You don't have to trash Kenny Norton just to say he needs to be in there. They both need to be in there.
Well, 50 wins, 5 world titles, 3 different weight classes. But the big thing is he came back from a broken neck. Now, we talked about Spence after an accident. He came back and fought a good fighter. Vinny was paralyzed. Oh, yeah. Vinny was supposed to never walk, but he walked. They said, well, you're definitely not going to fight again. He said, no, I'm going to fight again. Then they put a halo on him. Go on YouTube and check him out, and he's training. He gained more weight. He gained more muscle. And he came back and he fought Luis Santana, who became a future champion. He didn't fight a guy who was just some guy with a bad record. And not only that, but Vinny was one of the few guys that I can, off the top of my head, that never took a round off. No. And they used to say that Mike Tyson, George Foreman, and Vinny Pazienza did not need a belt to pack the house.
Right.
I think Vinny is underrated.
Very underrated.
Why, I don't know. And he fought everybody. I remember his last fight, and I'm sure I've said this on our show, he was fighting a guy named Tucker Pudwell. He was looking for his 50th win. I said, Vinny, fight me. Fight anybody. Just get the win. You're not looking to go in the rankings. Fight anybody. Get the win. People want to see you. Get in and get out. Make your money, get out. He said, no, I got to fight somebody good. I said, why? He said, that's who I am. I want people to look at my record someday and say he fought everybody good who was a good fighter. So he fought Tucker Pedwell, who took Eric Luca, the super middleweight champ, gave him hell the previous fight. And he did do pretty good against Vinny. And I got to tell a quick story. I don't mean to make this too long. Vinny was losing the fight. I'm at the fight. And this was about 2 weeks after my dad passed in 2004. And I never forget, my parents used to say, anybody who's good to my son, for God to bless him. And God should certainly bless these two guys because they're great with me. But anyway, I remember looking up at the rafters, and I said, God, please. I said, Mom and Dad, I said, nobody's better than me than Vinny. He's losing this fight. He had a cut under his eyes. This is his last fight. Please. As soon as I said, please let him win, bam, he knocks Tucker Pedwell down. I got so dizzy, and Vinny went on to win the fight. And I said, man, I should get a cut of that purse because I helped Vinny win the fight. But anyway, we'll get more about Vinny. I think he's going to be a guest on our show soon as well.
Those spiritual powers down.
That's right.
Gave him that extra strength.
All three of us. Robert from Cleveland. I agree. I believe in that. All three of us. Robert from Cleveland. Do you like legends coming back to fight? We kind of already talked about that. Luther and Claudio. Frankie from Columbus. Why are you guys so far apart on Buster Douglas? Well, I think we kind of covered that as well. And Luther's wrong on this. Luther's dead wrong on that.
It's a shame he couldn't put
Smoking
it together.
Smoking Jim Frazier. This is for you. Ronald from Pittsburgh. Thoughts on Paul Spadafore, and should he be in the Hall of Fame?
Yeah, Paul Spadafore should be in the Hall of Fame. The one thing about boxers is, he had a checker pass as far as going to prison and things outside the ring, but that is commonplace with boxers. Listen, Paul Spadafore was great for boxing. He was the Pittsburgh kid. He was an undefeated fighter, lightweight. He held a belt. He was the best fighter to come out of Pittsburgh since Billy Conn and Fritzy Zivik and those guys. Listen, Paul Spadafore was a guy that never entered the ring without being in great condition. He was a hard worker. He loved the sport. He was a warrior. He didn't have a big punch, but I tell you what, Paul Spadafore made his mark in boxing. I got the utmost respect for Paul, and I believe he should be in the Hall of Fame.
He certainly made his mark, and I wish that we would have gotten that dream fight with Mayweather.
Oh, Mayweather.
He'd have
We saw
beat
the-
Mayweather.
We saw the sparring, man.
Yeah,
I wish we could have
that would've
seen it
been
in
nice.
action for real.
Did he give a shout out on our show one time, Lou?
Yeah, he did. He gave a heck of a shout out.
Where's it at? I don't
We
remember
gotta get him on the boxing authorities.
We get him on. We get him on. All right. Well, we hope you enjoyed our show. We certainly love bringing it to you. And again, you're not going to get two better guys than these guys right here. Thank you for tuning into the Boxing Authorities. Talk to you guys soon.